Hey everyone, hope you all are doing great. My name is Partharu. I'm Vincent Program Manager for Microsoft Reactor India. And yes, welcome you all to yet another episode of MVP Connect. But before we start our today's event, let's go through our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, participate together. So please be respectful of other people's views, understanding the differences, be kind and considerate in a way we all engage. Yes, we do encourage you all to participate. Please drop all your questions in the comment section and we'll pick it up from there. Now, I would like to bring in our MVP for today's event, Hariharan. Hey, hi Hariharan, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Parth. How are you?
All well, all good. Uh, the title looks so exciting. So, what
Yeah.
do we have today?
Okay, so as you know, Microsoft Fabric is a buzzword, and again, customers are already started adapting this. So while we are speaking, there is a Fabric conference already going on Europe, right? So this session is about more of how we are going to leverage Microsoft Fabric features within Power BI projects and solutions. And this will
Wow,
be useful for the Power BI developers, Power BI architects, like how this can enhance their solutioning, like how they can consider these features in their end-to-end architecture.
wow, great. Sounds so interesting. Yes, the floor is all yours, Hariharan.
Yeah, thanks, Parth.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining my session. I'll just quickly introduce myself. So, about myself, I'm Hariharan Rajendran. I'm a Microsoft MEP in data platform, specifically on Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. Right. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer and CompTIA classroom trainer. So I have more than 15 years of experience. All my experience are into like data and analytics space, specifically on BI technologies like tools like MSBI, Power BI, Tableau, and then SAP HANA and Business Objects. And I am running a YouTube channel called Hari's BI. So there I post videos about Microsoft Fabric, all the features of Microsoft Fabric, plus Power BI concepts and Power BI videos. And in case if you want to reach me, you can reach me through LinkedIn. So I'm pretty active there. So this is my LinkedIn handle. And in case if you want to follow me, you can follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Right. I'm also a certified fabric analytics engineer. So I have passed this DP 600. So let's talk about the agenda for this session. Right. I'll just briefly cover the Microsoft Fabric overview. I know most of you aware like what is Fabric and what are the capabilities. I'll just briefly cover, and also I'll talk about some of the innovations which are going inside this Microsoft Fabric, and we'll dive into our topic, the Power BI features. Basically, like how these Microsoft Fabric features can impact our Power BI projects and solutions. So I'll be covering these this impact maybe in a more of a feature-wise, I mean, kind of a scenario. For that scenario, how we typically handle without Microsoft Fabric, and how that can be handled more effectively with Microsoft Fabric features. And finally, we'll talk about what are the different types of projects that you could see in day-to-day activities, right? So before Microsoft Fabric and after Microsoft Fabric. Okay, let's start with Microsoft Fabric overview. As you know, this Microsoft Fabric is just a one unified intelligence data platform, and Microsoft had a very good decision on taking up Power BI platform and dump all the other workloads into a same platform. Right? Because Power BI, as you know, like it is already very popular across organizations, right? So it has a lot of things already baked within that platform itself, and leveraging that platform and upgrading that platform to Microsoft Fabric, it's a very good decision, because most of the components which we have within Power BI can be easily leveraged to handle all of these workloads. For example, we have workspace concept. We have a very good security already available in Power BI, right? So same workspace security, all sort of Power BI related features can be easily handled with all these kind of workloads. Right. So previously it was just Power BI. Now it is just Power BI is going to be like one of the workload within this Microsoft Fabric. As you see, there are different workloads like data factory related workloads, data engineering, data warehouse, data science. Right. So there are more components are available within Fabric, and all of those different components are grouped together, and they provided a different experience, right? So if you go with the data science experience, you will have an option to create notebooks, you will have an option to create ML models, right? You will have an option to create AI skill, right? So there are multiple components are there within Microsoft Fabric. All of them are grouped under each individual experiences. Right. So on top of these workloads, so basically we have a very good innovation called the One Lake, right? So that is a place where all these data will be stored. Right. So since all of these workloads are handling a different set of activity, for example, you have a data warehouse where you will be writing SQL statements, and you have a data science where you will be writing some Python notebooks, right? Sparse SQL and all. Right. So all these different workloads are going to handle the data from one lake. That is going to be a central place of storage for this entire fabric. So if you are going to purchase Microsoft Fabric, you will have a one lake for your entire tenant, and within that one lake, all this data will be categorized with the different workspaces and with the different level of permissions. And as you know, like Power BI is a SaaS product, so eventually, like Microsoft Fabric is also a SaaS product where you no need to worry about managing and maintaining all the infra related stuff, right? So a typical SaaS product, so you just go and provision the service, provision like whatever component that you want to create within Fabric, and just go and concentrate on your data extraction, data transformation. So basically, like get the data from your organization and do all sort of transformations and do all sort of analytics. You no need to worry about how to connect these different services together. So all are taken care by Microsoft itself. And with respect to security, as I mentioned, like we have a very good security system already available with Power BI. So that same security is now further enhanced to handle all of these different workloads, and we'll have a one security for this entire Fabric platform. With respect to compute, so as you know, like Power BI was using Power BI premium capacities for the compute. Right? So each capacity, like there are different levels of nodes are there, right? P1 to P5. So here, as part of Fabric, we have a Fabric capacity. So it starts from F2 to like there are a lot of capacity SKUs. Each capacity SKU with comes with different capacity units, right? Basically the CPU and RAM. From a storage perspective, this one lake is a storage component. Under the hood, it is using Azure Data Lake Gen 2. So, how much data that you're going to store on that store one lake, you'll be charged accordingly. Right, so that's about the Microsoft Fabric. Let's go into the innovations in Microsoft Fabric. Right, let's start with one lake. Right, as I mentioned, like this is going to be a central storage system for that entire fabric, and since it's a storage, like it can accommodate all the structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, right? So there is no limitation of like what kind of data can be stored within one lake. And the beauty of this one lake, right? So this single storage can be used by all of these different workloads, right? So that is the reason the data which are going to be stored in one lake will be in a delta parquet parquet formats, right? Which means like a kind of an open format. Most of the data platforms are adapted with this delta parquet, right? So if you create a data warehouse within Fabric, if you create a lake house, right? So all of this data will be referring to this delta parquet files, right? So and like if you go with the Power BI workloads also going to refer the same set of delta parquet files to create the semantic model on top of that report. So which means all the services that you going to use within Fabric is going to handle the same format. That's the reason like Microsoft Fabric is able to handle all of these different workloads. In future, there will be even there are chances that there will be additional workloads to be added with the same kind of a format of Delta packet. Right. The another important feature within One Lake, right? You have a One Lake file explorer. So this is something similar to OneDrive, right? So you can use OneDrive and you can easily integrate your OneDrive with your local system, right? Where you can upload your files, download your files, right? In the same way, like for Fabric, you have a One Lake Explorer. This is kind of a OneDrive for your data, right? So within One Lake, you can even upload any sort of data again from a local file system, right? So you have a piece of software. Once you install that One Lake File Explorer, you can do like whatever activity like uploading, checking the files directly on your system, and that will be automatically synced with your respective workspaces. The second innovation is shortcut and mirroring. So Microsoft Fabric, just comes with a data platform and advanced analytics, right? So if you take any organization, the most probably they have invested their money on their data platforms, right? So probably they may go with Databricks, or they may use Snowflake. Like how we can attract those customers, how they can adapt this Microsoft Fabric on top of their platform, their data platform. Right, so that's why like this new innovation called the shortcut. Using shortcut, like if the customer data is stored somewhere in ADLS Gen 2, or maybe AWS, or S3 buckets, or Google storage, blob storages, right? So if any of these data are stored across on any of these file system based blob storages, right? So those data can be easily accessed through shortcut, which means the customer no need to duplicate the data, no need to copy the data from their existing blob storage and put it into a Fabric lakehouse, right? So it is just a simple shortcut. So under the code, it is using a virtualization, where it is going to refer the data from that respective places, and you will see all the data within Microsoft Fabric. So once you have got the data into Microsoft Fabric, it is something like you can leverage all the services of Microsoft Fabric. Like you can create notebooks on top of the data. You can create like you can create an AI skill. You can leverage Copilot. Right? So all sort of Microsoft Fabric features can be easily handled once you have bring the data through shortcuts. So we talked about the shortcuts, like you have data stored in the form of delta packet files across different blob storages. But what is the scenario if customers' data are stored in somewhere in the databases, for example, Snowflake, right, or Azure SQL databases, or Cosmos DB, right? So because those are all kind of a SQL, or kind of a tables and columns, right? So how we can bring those data into Microsoft Fabric, right? So that's where like Microsoft Fabric has introduced mirroring concept. So under the hood of mirroring, they are using a replication technology. So they are trying to replicate the data from your databases and bring it into a Microsoft Fabric one lake. So with that, yeah, as I mentioned, you can leverage all other services. So services, right? So which means it is not like a customer should wait for Microsoft Fabric and they need to close their existing agreement with their existing data platforms, right? So they can still even use Microsoft Fabric on top of their existing data platforms. And we also have a data pipelines, data factories are there, right? Data flow gen 2, right? So in case if you want to migrate your existing data platform to Fabric, so we can leverage all those services to migrate all the data into one lake, and you can create also all sort of analytical products. And then the third aspect within these innovations, right? Copilot, right? So nowadays, most of the products are comes with AI features, and the Copilot is again it's a popular technology which has been integrated in almost in all Microsoft products, right? So again, this Copilot is now natively integrated with Microsoft Fabric. So with that, we can leverage Copilot to create some codings, right? Python codes, SQL codes, or we can leverage Copilot to do a self-service analytics. Right? So on top of Copilot, in recent times, Microsoft also released this AI skill. Right? So under the hood, again, they are using Gen AI LLM models, where we can easily create AI skill on top of the tables which are there available from one lake delta tables, the lakehouse delta tables, and we can easily get the insights by using a SQL statements, right? So ASQL is going to write some SQL statements for the question that we asked in natural language. Right? So these are all some of the innovations that you could see on the Microsoft Fabric. So on top of that, there is one more innovation called a semantic link. Right, so this is a great feature within Microsoft Fabric, which will help you to bridge the gap between the Power BI data warehouse, data engineering aspects, and data science aspects. Right. So in case if data science people want to get some KPI logics from Power BI semantic models, it was very difficult as they have to go through the APIs and get the metadata out and do further analysis and do their data science stuff. So now using semantic link, it is kind of a Python library, right? So we can easily write Python scripts on the notebook, and where we can easily access the semantic model related stuff. So on top of that, they can still run machine learning models or data science related stuffs. Same goes for the data engineering, right? In case if they want to extract the data from semantic model and put it into somewhere some of the lake houses for any of their scenarios, so this can be easily achieved with the semantic link. So with all of these innovations, as you know, so under the hood of this Microsoft is leveraging that pretty popular technologies like serverless SQL Server and Spark engines and ADLS tools, right? All of these are natively integrated to support all of these different workloads and different features. So far we covered about the innovations and the Microsoft Fabric. Now we are going to talk about the core topic, right? As part of this session title, like I just mentioned, Microsoft Fabric impact in Power BI projects, right? So I'm going to talk about good impact because we don't have any bad impact because Microsoft Fabric enable a path for Power BI to go to next level, which means you have lot of new features added. So as part of Fabric integration, we are not losing any features from Microsoft Fabric. Right? So we are going to talk all those different features which are coming as part of Microsoft Fabric. So as I mentioned, we'll see all these impact in a way I'll talk about the scenario and we'll discuss how this scenario can be handled without Fabric with the typical Power BI projects, and then how the same can be achieved with Microsoft Fabric feature. The scenario is, let's say you have handling a large volume of data, right? And you want to build a semantic model to handle this large volume of data, and the data within the databases are kind of updating on a very frequently, and business users want to see the same changes on Power BI, right? As soon as the data updates on the databases, they want to see the same changes on the Power BI. And also on top of that, they are expecting a good performance in Power BI, right? So typically if you get this kind of a scenario from a Power BI experience, we would recommend customer to go with direct query, right? Or sometimes we go with the composite model based on the scenario, right? So that's a typical approach. So if it is a direct query, as you know, there will be a performance problem, right? It is not like an import, and we cannot go with import because they are expecting a near real-time updates, right? So if you go with a composite model, you have to create a lot of aggregate tables to handle the performances of the typical fact tables, right? So it is kind of going to be a mix of import and direct query, right? But what we have within Microsoft Fabric, right? So Microsoft Fabric has introduced a new storage called a direct lake mode, right? So far we used to use import or direct query, and direct lake is in another storage mode which got introduced as part of Fabric integration, right? So this data direct lake mode, it is something like it is not available in Power BI, which means you cannot create a direct lake mode for the data sources like Teradata or Oracle or any other databases, right? If you have data stored somewhere in your Fabric lakehouses as a delta tables or warehouses tables, then you can go and create a direct lake mode semantic mode. So anyway, I'll be showing you how to create a direct lake mode. The beauty of direct lake mode is it is going to have the good features of direct query and good features of import, right? So direct query, the good feature is you'll have a real-time updates to the Power BI report, and the good feature of import is performance, right? So it's going to give you the very good performance, and on top of that, it is going to give you the near real-time updates, right? As soon as the data changes on your delta tables or data warehouse tables, so the changes will be immediately reflected on your semantic model and report with a good performance. And it is going to have the single source of truth because we are not going to duplicate the data. We are not going to create any import based semantic models. All data will be stored in your one lake in the form of lakehouse delta tables or maybe warehouse tables, right? So we are going to just consume that the data. We are not duplicating the data. So that's where we are achieving this single source of truth. And since we are creating this direct link model on Power BI service directly, we still have a option to add all the modeling features, right? So typically, when we create a semantic model, you have a lot of capabilities like calculation groups, measures, right? So all can be created either directly on the Power BI service, or you can use the third-party tools like Tabular Editor, DAX Studio, SQL Server Management Studio. All can be leveraged with the help of XML endpoints. So basically, it is again kind of a semantic model, nothing new. you have all the capabilities, but there are some limitations, right? When I say limitations, so you cannot have a calculated table created, right? So you cannot have a calculated column created, right? So those two features are not supported because all these data are coming from your lakehouse delta tables or warehouse tables, right? So if you want to create any calculated tables or a calculated column, you need to make sure those tables and columns are created within your warehouse or within your delta tables under your lakehouse. So let me show you how to create a directly semantic model. Let's go here. So on this workspace, I have created a lakehouse. Just already created lakehouse with some data just to show you how you can create a semantic model. Just for an example, I'm just taking a Stack Overflow data. So using that data, I have created delta tables on this lakehouse. Right? I can easily access this delta table so directly on the lakehouse, or I can go to the SQL Analytics endpoint where I can query these tables using SQL statements. So now I'm going to create a semantic model. Yeah, maybe before I create, I'll show you a couple of information. So when you create a lakehouse, so by default there will be a SQL Analytic endpoint created for the same lakehouse. So as I showed earlier, like in case if you want to access the data, the delta tables, you can go to SQL Analytics endpoint and you can easily query those tables using SQL statements. So that's why like the SQL Analytic endpoint got created. Just a second. Okay, so here you can see all the tables that we have in your lakehouse, and you can see like you have option to write SQL statements. So on top of this, you'll have one another artifact created by default, which is semantic model default. Right, you can see. So this semantic model will have all the tables that you have with lakehouse, and whatever relationship that you create on the SQL endpoints that will be reflected here. Right? If I go back to the SQL Analytics endpoint of this lakehouse, you will see an option to create a model model layout. So here you will see all the tables that we have within that lakehouse. So here you can go and create the relationships, and this relationship will be used for this semantic model default, which got created automatically. And you will not have a write permission to this semantic model because this just give you a read permission. You cannot modify any of these settings through Tabular editor or a DAX Studio or a SQL Server Management Studio. Right. So for that, what we can do, we can go and create a new semantic model. So when you go and create a new semantic model here, so it will ask you to choose on which workspace you want to create, and here you need to choose the list of uh, tables that you want to consider within that semantic model. Right, I can go and expand, and these are all the tables. I need all these tables. I just go and select all the tables, and I just specify the name of the semantic model, 2509, and then click confirm. So that's all. With all of this table, there will be one semantic model created, and within that semantic model, we'll have an option to create a relationship, create a DAX measures, calculation groups, roles, and also the report. And if you see the disclaimer, like you cannot create a semantic model on PPU workspace because PPU does not support Fabric artifacts, and you cannot create Power BI embedded workspaces, right? ASQ based workspaces. So you can create all of these either in a premium capacity or Fabric capacity workspaces. So if you see here, the semantic model now got created. Now it's our duty to go and create a relationship between the tables. So if you go and mouse over, you will see the storage mode, right? It says storage mode is direct link. So I've just created a semantic model already. So if you see here, this is the one that I have created already. I'll quickly show you how I've created the relationships. So you can see this is the relationship that I have created. Right? So on top of this semantic model, I have created a report also. Right? This is the report. So in this report, I have maybe I'll try to show you how many records are there. So change this to card visual count. Okay, I need to refresh this. So I have around 10 million records which are coming from that delta tables. You can see 10 million records, I'm uh, I'm handling terminal records, and all of these visuals are pretty quick, right? The reason is like so with the direct lake mode, it will take only the columns which are used on the visual. That columns will go into a memory, right? If you take a typical import based model, so that whole model will go into a memory, right? Let's say if the model size is 5 GB, that whole 5 GB of size will go into an memory, and then it will try, I mean, on top of that you can go and create any visuals, and the query will run against those in memory model. Whereas here within direct lake mode, it is going to load only the columns which are being used across these visuals, right? I'm not, I mean, basically this whole model is not going to be in memory. Only the metadata, only the columns which are being referred on these visuals will go into the memory, right? So that you can easily verify by making use of this XMLA endpoint, right? So if you see here, I've just connected the same model using my DAX Studio, and you can see all of this vertipack information. And if you see the size, it is so probably actually it was in import, now converted. Basically, it will not be like 24 GB; it will be just kind of an MB. Uh, so this is something that I've used as an import. Is recently converted, migrated to direct lake mode, but typically it will be in a less size. And so by using this DMV, we can go and access like what are all the columns which are in memory, right? So if you see here, so actually there are multiple visuals that I have created. Those visuals are leveraging all of these columns, so that's the reason you can see there is a temperature added to these columns. But if you see these things, so like these are all again, this is kind of a, it's like a old model. Typically, like the columns which are being referred only on the visual, that will be on a temperature value. Like the rest of the columns will be on a blank, right? Which means those columns are not loaded into the memory, right? That's how like it works. Basically, it is not going to load entire model. Just load only the metadata and then the columns which are being referred. So that's where like the direct lake mode is good in performance, and also it can handle the latest data from your lakehouse or a warehouse tables. I'll go back to the next feature. So the next feature is about alerting system, right? So as you know, like within Power BI, you can create alerts. To create an alerts, you need to have a dashboard created, right? Because alert is only supported in the dashboards. But again, you need to create a card visuals, and you need to pin that card visuals into the dashboard. Right? It is very difficult to get an alert created on top of visuals where you have dimensions, and for each dimensions there is a value. Right? Those kind of scenarios, so we were handled through like different applications like Power Automate. Right? Now we have a native alerting feature, alerting workload called data activator. So this is an out-of-the-box feature. It is natively integrated across multiple workloads like Power BI, and then real-time dashboards. Right. So across multiple places, they have integrated this data activator. So with that, you can easily create alerts across various levels. Right. So you can have different level of hierarchies, and for each hierarchy, there will be some metrics. Right. If you want to capture or if you want to send an alert if there are any value change for any of the dimensions, you can easily go and create an alert. This is something was not possible with Power BI dashboards. And it is not just a feature, right? You can easily integrate this feature with your Power Automate flows, right? Let's say if you have Power Automate flow created, and you want to trigger that Power Automate flow whenever there is a threshold reach, right? Of maybe from your Power BI visuals. So through this data activator, you can trigger the data activator, and that data activator will trigger your Power Automate flows. So that level of integration is already available within this Microsoft Fabric. Let me quickly show you that feature. So if you see here, like I have a report created. So I'll just go and show you a typical way of doing an alert, right? So I need to pin this visual into a dashboard. So if I create like, so just go and create like a demo pin. And if I go to the dashboard, I'll see that card visual. I can go and create a alert by going to the manage alert, add alert rule. Here I have to specify the conditions and the value, and then I have to set this frequency. And this is how we used to create an alert natively within Microsoft Power BI. right? So now with this data activator integration, you can see like these alerts are already started showing this data activator and power automate, right? So I'll show you how you can go and create an alert using data activator. So if I go to this, so to create an alert, you can just go here, set alert, or you can go to any of this specific visual, click this three dot, you will see an alert. So set alert, and that particular visual will be highlighted, and here you have to specify what is the measure. Like, let's say if you have a table visual, there are multiple measures are there. Just go and choose that measure, and here you need to change the operator, like how often, or what is the alert type, right? Whether the value should be greater than or greater than or equal to, or if the value changes, you need to get the alert. So you can set all of these operators, different operators, and here you can specify whether the action should be like sending an email, or sending a teams message, right? So this is natively supported, these two systems, and you can choose any of this and just click create, right? But under the hood, it will create a component called reflex, right? If you see here, by default the reflex component will be created on my workspace if that is a fabric capacity based workspace. So otherwise I can go and choose a specific workspace. Let's say I'm just going to choose this one. Here I have to specify like whether I need to create a new reflex item, or if there are any reflex items which I have created already, which is there on the workspace, I can leverage the same reflex item, or I can go and create a new item, right? I just go and create a new item, and this would be the name, right? Let's say 2903, and click create. So with that, there will be one reflex item created. So I'll show you once it is created. So that item will be again added as a one of the artifact under your workspace. So probably I'll go here, and then I'll refresh. Okay, here you can see this is a reflex that we have created. If I go inside this reflex, you will see a different section, right? One is the data section. So this is a place like where it will go and stream your data from your respective Power BI visuals, right? So we have created a, a data activator alert for your card visuals, right? That's the reason it's showing that one single entry. If you have created alert for any of the other visuals where you have value, I mean dimension wise some metrics, so you will see that value here. Basically whatever data that you see on that visual will be streamed towards to this reflex, and then on top of that we can create alert, right? Here you can go to a design, and you can set up a trigger, right? How this should be triggered, right? If I just go and choose this, and here we can define the condition, right? We already defined the conditions, like whenever there is a value change as an operator, and the alert will be triggered. In case if you want to further change, right, you can just go to a trigger. So here you can see the options, detect changes. Instead of changes, if you want to do any other operator, you can just go and change it. And this section will show you like how the data is flowing, right? So that you can easily see here. And the last section is more of an act, right? So how you want to notify it, right? So that's why like you can send either an email or a teams message or a fabric item, right? In case if you want to provision a new fabric item based on the alert, you can still go and create it. And you have property section, so this will be help you to define your alerts or customize your alerts, right? So here in this case the property, nothing is there because we just created an alert on top of your card visuals, right? If I just go and maybe create an alert for this one, I just go and create. So I just create changes and then email, just go and choose this one, the same artifact. So once this is created, if I just go and refresh this, so there will be an additional object created. Just a second. Okay, this is created. So you'll see like I have one object called source. This is something that I have created on top of my card visuals, and this is something that I created on top of this bar chart. So these two objects, right? Each object has a property, right? If I go to the property here, you can see the country because we have a dimensional value on that visual. That's the reason that property is added here. right? And again, you can see the data, and these are all two different event streams that we got created as part of alert creation. You can see, and if you are creating an alert on top of your Power BI artifacts, then the pooling frequency would be like every 1 hour. Right? So in case if there are any changes on the data, you will not get an immediate alert. So because this event stream will pull the data for every 1 hour. Right? After every 1 hour, you will have data extracted from your visuals, and it will load it here, and that data will be compared against the condition that you defined here. Right, so basically it's extract the data. On top of that, you will have a flexibility to further customize based on the conditions that you want to define, and based on the format that you want to define. On top of that, if you want to create an Power Automate alert, you can just go and create a new custom action. So here you have to specify what is your action name, and then what are all the input fields that you want to consider, which you want to pass it to a Power Automate flow. And then you just, let's say for example, I'm just saying name demo. Just go and copy this. So once I enable this, you can see the connection string is copied. So we can just directly go to a Power Automate flow. In that case, like data activator would be the trigger point for your Power Automate. So on the Power Automate, you have to copy paste this connection string, so that data activator will identify, okay, this is something that coming from this particular reflex item. Right? So that's how, like you can leverage this data activator to create a customized alerts. Right? We no need to depend on any other third-party services or even Power Automates to have a custom alerting system created for your Power BI projects. So that's about the second feature. I'll just go to the third one. So third one is more of like AI based, right? So now, as I mentioned, like most of the applications are now started supporting AI as a out of the box feature. So if you want to expect the similar one from Power BI, we have a Power BI Copilot. Right? Again, it is out of the box integration. No need to do any external configurations and all. Within Fabric, the Copilot is there in almost most of the scenarios or the experiences, right? So you have Copilot available for Data Factory, you have Copilot available for Data Flow Gen 2 and real-time dashboards, right? There are Copilot, natively supported on different experiences. But here within Power BI, you have Copilot supported for two different purposes. The other experience Copilots are most probably for a developer assistant, right? So they can use Copilot to create new code snippets, and they can use the same, right? From a Power BI Copilot perspective, you can use this Copilot for a business user persona and also for a developer persona, right? So business user persona can leverage this Copilot for their self-service report creation. I'll quickly show you. So for this, like you need a F64 capacity. So minimum SKU is F64. So below SKUs will not support Copilot. So make sure you have a F64 capacity, and the same capacity is should be assigned to your workspaces. So if I go here, license information. So here I'm referring that F64 capacity. I'm sure this is up. Okay. So now I can go to any of the report. Let's say I'm going to this report. So the first option, let's say you are exposing this report to the business users, and they are accessing this report. So they can leverage this Copilot. And here with this Copilot, the business user can easily understand all the metrics. Right? Here you can see some of the suggestions that you have already. Give me an executive summary. Right? So when you provide this as a prompt to this Copilot, it will try to read the metadata under the hood, and it will try to read all the columns, tables, the relationships, right? Basically all the KPIs that you have defined on this page, and it will give you a narrative insights. Right? And it also has a reference to that, right? So which visual is considered to bring this executive summary. So like that, like business user can easily ask any question about their data, and they will get insights within this Copilot window. which means like it's a kind of an advanced Q&A. So we were using Q&A previously just to have some questions asked in a natural language. So now we can leverage Copilot. It will help you to give you an answer for whatever we ask. So this is one of the aspect from a business user persona perspective. Let's say now the business user wants to create their own report as a self-service, right? So there, like we'll be exposing that semantic model. That business user can go and create a report. Right? So while create a report, they will see this option again, Copilot. So under this Copilot, so they will see different sections like create a new report page, suggest a content. So here we have to provide a prompt. Let's say that the user wants to create a report page with multiple KPIs. So they can define all of them in a prompt, right? In a way like I need to create a page with sales information or a budget related information, right? They can define all of them in a prompt here on this chatbot. So that will be again executed by the Copilot. So under the code again, it will leverage all the metadata, the semantic model relationships, and it will create a report page for them. Right? So otherwise, they can go and ask Copilot to suggest content for this new report page. Right. So when we click this, it will show like okay, these are all the suggestions that Copilot provides. So if any of these suggestions are looks interesting, the business user can go and create that page. So this is the prompt now that we are providing to the Copilot, and with that there will be one report page created with all the KPIs. The accuracy is something that we need to validate. So as of now, manual intervention is there to make sure the Copilot is showing the right information. If there are any information which is not meeting your requirement, you just go and change this visual. Right? If you see here, now this Copilot has created a very good looking report. You can see like it has slices added by default. I'm not explicitly called out to create a slices, but still it has added a slices with even a background images and KPIs and all these visuals, right? So even with a preview, like you still can go and change any of the visuals which got created by the Copilot, right? Like that you can easily ask many stuffs within this Copilot, where you can easily create multiple pages, right? So the same level of experience is still available in your Power BI desktop, right? So we saw the Copilot on Power BI service, but if you go to Power BI desktop, you have a Copilot, right? You need to make sure you have a latest version of Power BI Desktop installed, and again you need to map your workspace where you have a premium capacity, where you have a F64 tagged. So once you mapped your workspace, you can leverage this Copilot section, or you can go to this tax view where you have a Copilot here. Right? So here you can suggest Copilot to create or show some measures. Right? So it will go through the model and it will suggest some measures, or you can leverage this Copilot to understand some of the tax expressions which got written by some of the other developers. Right? So you can do a lot of stuff with this tax query window, query view. So you can ask Copilot to explain the code. You can ask Copilot to add commands. You can ask Copilot to explain any DAX concepts, right? So you no need to Google it, right? You can just simply ask anything within this DAX query view, within this Copilot, and you will get an answers, right? You can see like now it has created a measure, or it created a syntax. In case if you want to keep this, we just go and keep this. So like that, if you want to create new measures, you can just simply ask that measure related stuffs in a natural language, and Copilot will create that. And in case if you want to add that into a model, you just go and add that measure into the model. Right? So this Copilot is integrated across different places within Power BI Desktop. So one is to create a page, something similar to like what we saw in the service. Right here, you will have an option to create a page using Copilot. Another one is DAX query view, and then the other area is like you can easily use Copilot to add more synonyms to your Q&A. Right? If you go to synonyms, you will have an option to add synonyms using Copilot. Right? So now Copilot has integrated in multiple places. So this will enable developer to expedite their development with the help of Copilot. Right? So under the code, like any Copilot prompt that you provide to get an answer, right? So all will be tracked under that fabric capacity. Each prompt will be converted as a token, and based on number of tokens, the number of capacity units will be charged. So that's about the Copilot feature. And I'll just quickly cover some of the other features, like where how we typically handle in Power BI and what is the alternate that we have within Fabric. The scenario is real-time reports, right? So when we talk about real-time reports, within Power BI, we have to create a streaming data sets, or we have to when we have to basically go with stream analytics in Azure, and then from there we have to push the data to the data sets, right? So that's how we usually handle the streaming data, real-time reporting, right? So now we have a real-time hub as a feature added in Microsoft Fabric. With that, you can easily create streaming services, and you can easily create KQL databases, and on top of that you can create a real-time dashboards. And the semantic link and labs, so it's a very good feature to connect different pieces, right? So you have a data engineering, you have a data science, and you have a Power BI analytics, right? So if you want to bring the data, or if you want to connect all these three dots together, where you can easily access the data from data science, from semantic models, or maybe from semantic models to the data engineering, right? All can be easily achievable using semantic link, right? Because this is a Python library, and this Python library supports extracting the data from semantic models using a simple SQL statements, or maybe a tag script. So with that, like, we can extract the data. On top of that, we can apply some machine learning models or data science related stuffs. And when we talk about self services, self service, like, you can export the semantic model to the business users, and they can go and create a reports, even maybe using Copilot. But in case if you want to expose that platform for users to create their own semantic model, right? Still they can easily do that, right? So previously we were having data flow gen 1, still it is there. Now we have data flow gen 2, which is similar to data flow gen 1. There is no much change, but under the hood there are more compute, the powerful computes, and you have a target option where you can do all the transformations and store that into a lakehouse, warehouse, or even Azure SQL databases, right? Those sort of informations are there. So basically, you can expose these kind of features to the power users who want to build self-service semantic models and reports. And then the final scenario would be like creating a Power BI reports with an ad hoc files, right? So typically, like, whenever we want to create a report on top of Excels, so we would expect our team to place that Excel into a SharePoint folder, right? So they have to provision the SharePoint folder in case if they don't have any. That's how, like, we typically create, right? So basically we have to depend other team to host all these files, and then we need to create a semantic model and report. So now, since we have lakehouse, we can easily create a lakehouse within Power BI workspace, and you can add all your files like CSV files, Excel files, and you can easily refer those files in your Power BI semantic model, right? So which means all these are under one single platform, right? You don't need to depend on any other platform to host the data for your Power BI semantic models and reports. So I'll move on to the next topic. So far we covered about, like, what is the impact that we see uh, with the Microsoft Fabric on our Power BI projects. So whenever you have any scenarios, or any requirement to handle all of these stuffs, typical scenarios, you can go and make use of these Microsoft Fabric features. Now we are going to discuss about the different project types, right? So typically, like, if you go with the Power BI projects, either you will be going with the Power BI development projects, or you will be going with the migration projects where you will be migrating legacy BI reports to Power BI, right? So more or less same, like, even though if it is a migration, like, you will be creating artifacts from the scratch, right? When I say artifacts, you will be creating a semantic models reports from the scratch. But again, it is kind of a development projects, right? So as part of the development, if the customer does not have a fabric, right? They have not adapted fabric, or they have not moved their data platform into fabric. There is no change in the project. It's a typical Power BI projects where the developers will be creating a semantic models using import or a direct query. On top of that, they will be creating a report. But what happened, like in case if customer has adopted Microsoft Fabric, and they have migrated their data platform into Microsoft Fabric, either Lakehouse or a Warehouse, or they are still doing a POC, right? So some of that Fabric adoption is already happened on the organization. So the type of projects that you may going to face would be like you will be creating a semantic model on top of your Fabric artifacts, right? So in that case, you will get a chance to create a semantic model with a direct lake option, right? Or import or a direct query, right? Or in case if you want to still go with import option or a direct query option, then you have to go with the SQL analytic endpoint of your warehouse or your lakehouse, right? Or if you want to go with a direct lake, as I showed, you just simply go and create a direct lake semantic model on your Power BI service, and then on top of that, you can go and create reports. So that is that kind of a project that you will see, like in case if the customer has adopted the fabric. So it's a regular typical Power BI projects plus these features like direct lake based semantic models or models with a SQL analytics endpoint. The other scenario would be like okay, I have a semantic model created previously, which was pointing to Azure SQL databases. Now, as part of this Fabric adoption, I have migrated my Azure SQL databases into Warehouse within Fabric. So, if that is the case, like I need to repoint my semantic models from Azure SQL to these Fabric artifacts. So that's why, like, you will be going with the SQL Analytics endpoint. So you'll be taking a SQL Analytics endpoint, and then you will be pointing that server details and database on your semantic model. So basically you will be having a new development on top of your Fabric items, or repointing your existing semantic models with the newly created SQL Analytics endpoint. The third type of project would be like migrating the existing semantic models to a direct lake based semantic models, right? So as of now, this is not kind of a lift and shift, right? You have to use the semantic link or semantic link labs or libraries to migrate your import based or a direct query based semantic models into a direct lake. So there we need to do some assessment to see like if any of the artifacts, like any of the features which are supported in import or direct query, if that same feature is not supported in direct lake, so we need to identify those things, and we need to see how we can bring all of them into a lakehouse or a warehouse tables, and then you can easily migrate the semantic models to a direct lake based semantic models. So typically, from a overall perspective, you'll be doing a typical Power BI development projects. On top of that, you will be doing this repointing these existing semantic models to the Fabric SQL Analytics endpoint, or you will be migrating your semantic models to a direct lake-based semantic models to get all the benefits of this direct lake. That's all I want to cover. Do we have any questions, Paru? Parth, do we have any questions?
From Aziz, he asked like, are the slides available? Yes, Aziz, these slides are available. It's the session is recorded, and you can find it over the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this question like, what would be the best use case for the Power BI desktop together with the Fabric?
Okay, so it's a good question. Like, so as you know, like you can do all of this modeling and reporting directly on Power BI service or the Fabric portal. So this Power BI desktop for the pro developer, right? So you have a lot of features within Power BI desktop, and again, it is easy to use, and you can easily leverage these features, and you can accelerate your development using Power BI desktop. Even though if you create a direct lake semantic model now, as part of this recent announcement, you can easily edit those direct lake semantic models directly live with your Power BI desktop. Right? So it is not necessary that you have to go and do all the modeling on Power BI service or the portal. You can still do all the stuffs within Power BI desktop. Right? So basically, for a pro developer, we still need a Power BI desktop, and you have a PBIP feature. I mean, there are a lot of features which are available in Power BI desktop for a developer to go and use.
Okay. So another question from there, like he's hearing from the MVPs that the Fabric F2 or F4 capacity comes with some free storage. So no need to buy the storage capacity. However, I could not find any learn documentation. Please explain.
Okay. So if you go with the fabric capacity, and if you are started loading the data into a lake house as part of one lake, right? So there will be a storage associated with that. So probably if you go and check the pricing, right, the fabric pricing, so there you'll have a detailed information. Maybe I'll quickly show you uh, fabric pricing. So I'm not like very sure about F2, F4, right? That is something that probably you have to check. But if you see here, these are all the compute cost capacity units, right? On top of that, you can see the one lake storage. So here, one lake storage per month is the uh, per GB this much. Sorry, this is in rupee. I'll just go and USD. For a GB of size, it is $0.023. Uh, so when storage is bit cheaper, but I don't see any specific information for F2 or F4 capacity. Probably that we have to check with Microsoft. But otherwise, like typically, we have to go compute as a separate, as a pay as you go, or maybe a 1 year reservation, and then storage cost will be separate.
So there is another question from Mithilesh. Mithilesh asks, like using Databricks Unity catalog, could the managed tables in the Databricks be mirrored to bring data in one lake? I believe we
Okay.
cannot use shortcut for Databricks managed tables.
Yes, so from a mirroring perspective, as of now, Databricks is not supported. So it supports only Azure SQL DB, Snowflake, and Cosmos DB. But to answer your question, that Unity catalog, right? I think in recent announcement, the FabCon in Europe, looks like that Unity catalog is now natively supported in Fabric. So I think it is a public preview. Probably if you go and check the Microsoft Fabric blog, maybe today or yesterday's updates, you will see some updates on that Unity catalog. So I think that would be useful for you.
So we have again question from Aziz asking, like what type of shortcuts and what type of data format CSV or Delta could be able to read in SQL endpoint.
Okay, SQL endpoint is for your lakehouses or warehouses, right? So lakehouse will have a delta tables, so which means delta tables on top of your delta format, right? Delta package files. Warehouse will be on top of again delta package formats. So you can take CSV or Excel, and you can if you take CSV, that CSV file can be easily converted as a delta table. On top of that, you can use SQL endpoint of that particular lakehouse, and you can access the same from your Power BI. Right? So I'll just quickly show you. So if you see here, any artifact like lakehouse or warehouse, if you create, right, so there will be a SQL analytics endpoint created. So this SQL analytics endpoint is for you to go and access the table using SQL statements. The same can be used in your Power BI semantic model, where you can easily refer this SQL endpoint, because this SQL endpoint will comes with the server name and then the database name. So this is a connection string of that SQL endpoint, and you can easily access this in your Power BI service. Right? But under the hood of this SQL endpoint, there will be a delta Parquet files. Right? So in case if you are storing your CSV file, for example, I have one file. So under files, you can add your files like CSV files or delta Parquet files. So these files can be converted as a delta tables. Right? You can see load to a table, new table. So which means CSV delta parquet files can be used to build delta tables. So once this table is created on your lakehouse, so this table again will be available as part of your SQL endpoint, and you can easily access those tables either from Power BI, or you can write SQL statements on top of these tables using SQL endpoint. So you can see here the product color table is now added, which is coming from CSV, and now this is a delta table. I can go to SQL endpoint and I will see that table available here. So this is the one, product color. So I can easily go and query the table. So that's how like the SQL analytic endpoint works. So it's on top of lakehouse and warehouse. Do we have any more questions, Parth?
Yes. So we have a question from Pallavi asking, can we data load in one capacity A and a default semantic model in capacity A, create a new semantic model based out of this and place it in other capacity so that the capacity A will be paused and capacity B will be used by the report users.
No, I understood your question. Like you want to create a semantic model using one of the capacity, and then take that semantic model, put it into a different workspace for your Power BI purpose, right? If you go and switch off your capacity with that A capacity, so that the semantic model that you created will not work, right? So in case if you create a semantic model using import, then of course it's a typical process. You can put that into any workspace. So at that time the capacity can be switched off. Even that can be a pro workspace, all right. But if you're handling a premium features, if you're handling a fabric related features, right? When I say premium features, so like Power BI premium features, and then fabric features like Direct Lake, the capacity still should be on, right? You cannot go and switch off. Even though if the semantic model is in a different workspace, so if the capacity is switched off, you cannot go and access your semantic models and reports.
I hope that answers the question. And we have a question from Manjunath. Like, he has a requirement to create a Power BI dashboard which has a parent child view, something like a tree view. Which visuals would best fit for this case?
Okay. Uh, Probably you can give a try with decomposition tree. So that's one of the out of the box visual. Uh, but in case if that visual is not uh, something feasible or not looking good for your requirement, probably you have to go with custom visuals. So you just try to look for some custom visuals, and there are some custom visuals to support parent and child hierarchies.
Okay, so it's like, I think this is the continuity to that question, I guess. He wants to create a Power BI dashboard to view job dependency and job status, success or failed in progress at the point of the same time at a high level. Okay.
Okay, this is where like again the same answer, right? So you can try use decomposition tree, so that will give you the view. So otherwise, if any of the pre-built visuals are not supported, you still need to go with the custom visuals to handle this.
So, okay, what are the requirements of Copilot activation? I understand the Fabric trial do not support Copilot.
Yeah, that's correct. So you need at least F64 and above capacities, and there are a couple of settings that you need to enable. So just quickly show you. So user can use Copilot and other features powered by Azure OpenAI should be enabled, and data sent to Azure OpenAI can be processed outside your capacities. So this is optional, but these two things which you need to consider as a prerequisite for enabling a Copilot for your environment on top of your F64 uh, capacity.
So coming back to Manjunath, he asks again, like any suggestions on custom visuals?
Uh, Sorry, I don't have answers handy. Probably we have to go through. So you can go to marketplace and you'll have an option to see different custom visuals. I'm not getting a specific name of the visual. Probably maybe you can reach me on LinkedIn. I can try out and maybe suggest you the right custom visuals.
Great. So yes, folks, thank you all. Thank you so much. We don't have any more questions coming in. And yes, thank you, Hariharan, for a beautiful session and wonderful learning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And very good evening to you all.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Parth.
Thank you, everyone.